Where do I even begin? What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Professor Anime, and welcome back to another video. In this video, guys, I'm here to bring you all my finale review of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress, episode 12. So let's get started. So, when it comes to this episode, I have very mixed opinions about this episode. I mean, technically I have mixed opinions about this whole anime series, because part of me thoroughly enjoyed this series. I did. But at the same time, there was just so many bullshit things that happened in this episode that kind of ruined the series for me. And, even after the introduction of Biba is when Kabaneri the Iron Fortress started to downgrade in terms of how exciting it was. I mean, Kabaneri the Iron Fortress, let's be honest here, it started off really well. It was actually very promising in the very beginning of the series. However, directly after we saw Biba's introduction, things started to just collapse. I mean, Biba's actions just don't make sense at all, and even his character doesn't make sense at all, to be completely honest with you. I would even go as far as to say that Biba is what ruined Kabaneri the Iron Fortress. I mean, as I stated before, as soon as Biba was introduced, the series started to downgrade. But I did think there would be that, sliver of hope, maybe just, at all, that maybe things could get progressively better. Sadly, they did not, and oh my god, by the end of this episode, there was bullshit. There was bullshit throughout this episode, okay? But I didn't really mind it all, to be quite frank with you. However, the ending, when Ikuma wakes up and all of a sudden he is supposedly healed. I mean, I knew that Ikuma was gonna be survived. I mean, let's just be honest here. That's very cliche. The brink of death of a main character is going to end up coming back alive. I mean, main characters do, die in series, but most of the time they end up surviving, even though they are on the brink of death. It's a very cliche thing in stories. However, how Ikuma survived, he survived from Biba's white blood. We find out that Biba is a Kabaneri. I knew that. I knew he was going to be a Kabaneri. It was plain obvious. However, why the heck did he end up saving Ikuma when he wanted to kill Ikuma? He even, we get to see him pull out that gun when he gets back up, and he's like, get back up, bitch, and freaking, shoots him in the back. He means business. He wants to kill Ikuma. But then, by the end of this, episode, we see that apparently, we see that Biba went out of his way to actually save Ikuma and keep him alive. This character doesn't make sense. Holy shit, I think this is the first time I've been frustrated on camera. Some people are even going to mention the train sequence, what happened with Ikuma on the train. When it comes to that scene, honestly, it wasn't that big of a deal to me because it was kind of expected. I mean, Ikuma injected himself with this so-called black blood, which gives Kabaneri, more power temporarily. However, it's going to infect them in the process. But, the amount of power that he showed in that one scene where the train looks like it's flipping over his head, that was to be expected. I expected him to have that kind of power, especially to at least see this in the last episode of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress. And I also expected that Biba was going to be a Kabaneri. It wasn't that surprising, and I was also expecting that Ikuma was going to survive, because this leads up to what could be Season 2. However, how he ended up surviving is just stupid. From Biba, I don't know. And then they even throw in that one clip where we see Biba's henchman on the Kotetsujo, asking the people who are, currently on the Kotetsujo, like Ayame, the princess, and everybody else, they go out of their way to ask her, hey, you know what, I know we killed a lot of your people and also a lot of people in this city, but we were just thinking maybe we can come to terms to cooperate. And then Princess Ayame is just like, yeah, we'll just have to do that. Even though we know for a fact you killed all of our people, we're just gonna, not acknowledge that whatsoever and let you join us. Like, oh my god, some of these characters. You know what, let's at least look at the positives. Let's at least look at the positives of this series. The series has great animation. It has great animation. It does. The soundtrack to this series is amazing. Like, I want the OST to this series. The characters, there are some likable ones. However, at the same time, there are very, very stupid ones. Very stupid ones. And even ones that go as far as to ruining the series in general. The story is pretty typical. It's a survival sort of series. But depending on, what types of series you like to watch, you're going to end up finding this series relatively enjoyable. I still found it very relatively enjoyable, and I have looked at the flaws of this series, and I accept that. I'm not gonna, tell you straight up that, this series has no flaws and it's the best anime ever. No way! No way. I'm very truthful about my anime. Now, when it comes to Kabaneri the Iron Fortress, like, as a rating, oh my god, like, I don't know what to give it because the series has had very mixed opinions with me when it comes to the series, and Biba ruined this series for me, for my personal enjoyment, and I really think this series could have been a lot better without him, but sadly they made the mistake of not really fleshing out his character more and just giving him a bullshit motive. So, I don't know. I'm between maybe a 6. And maybe a 6 when it comes to Kabaneri the Iron Fortress, because the animation, the soundtrack, and that is pretty much it when it comes to this series. That's pretty much the only 2 pros that you have out of the series. The animation is great, the soundtrack is great, however, when it comes to the characters and the story, they are not so great. So, I guess 2 and 2, the series is kind of average. So, I don't know. That's at least my thoughts. So at the end of this episode of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress, we see that a possibility of a Season 2 of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress could eventually end up coming later down the line, somewhere in the near future. We don't know when this could be. However, if a Season 2 of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress is announced, I'm not gonna lie, I would be down for that. I still found this series relatively enjoyable despite its flaws. However, if they were to make a second season of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress, please, Wit Studio, do not make a carbon copy of Biba for other characters that might end up coming about in the second season of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress, especially your villains. Please do not make a carbon copy of Biba. That is what ruined your series. If you want to make a good villain and actually make, a second season of this series 10 times better, please take time to give more characterization to your characters, especially the villain. Make him have a better motive and make us actually sympathize with this character. We have to feel for this character in some way. When it comes to Biba, he had a very stale personality and a very stale motive, and that is what ruined the series because, he was the conflict of the series, so to speak. I mean, sure, there are the Kabaneri, but the main conflict is the humans in this survival world. So, hopefully, the second season of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress is going to be a whole lot better if we end up getting a second season of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress. That really just all depends on the demand for it, I guess. So, when it comes to the first core of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress, I think I'm just gonna roll with maybe a 6 for now, because it's fine. I mean, the story and the characters are what kind of ruined the series a little bit when it comes to the animation and the soundtrack of this series. It's just amazing. Now, if they can just fix the other two things, you know, I think we might actually have a very promising series. So, yeah, I think that about does it for my review. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on what you thought about this first core of Kabaneri the Iron Fortress. Are you looking forward to a second season? Did you like the last episode to this series? And I don't know, just let me know your overall thoughts. Let me know your thoughts, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.